So, this is a really thorny issue right now. My sister is demanding my parents and I start a fund for her with all the money she's owed throughout her life. I don't know what to say. Some background. My parents had sent both of us to private school starting in elementary school. After 2 years, I had done well, but my sister started acting up in middle school and got kicked out. The private school pretty much blacklisted her and told my parents they will no longer consider re-enrolling my sister ever. I even remember being dragged to some of these meetings last minute because my parents couldn't find a babysitter. That school hated her. My parents looked at the remaining private schools and they weren't great. The second best school was a public charter school, which was where they sent my sister. She did okay-ish here, got into some trouble, but never kicked out, although she was always on the cusp of failing out because her grades got progressively terrible. For university, I got into a great private university and took out a bunch of loans to pay for myself. My sister got into a state college and my parents paid for all 4 years. I'd have thought this was enough to balance things out in her mind, but no. We've both graduated now, and my sister is suddenly demanding after so many years that my parents repay her for the years of public school that she had to endure while I went to private. She calculates almost $100K of school tuition that she's owed. I think she's being absolutely ridiculous, but she'll swear up and down to anyone that'll listen that my parents ruined her life because they favored me and only sent me to the exclusive expensive schools. She never mentions that the schools themselves kicked her out, and my parents tried their best to get her into a second-best school. The issue is, my mom has been fighting late-stage breast cancer for the past 2 years, and mentally, she's not all there anymore. She gets confused a lot and very emotional, so my sister's angry tantrums has had a huge toll on her. She now wants to dig into her and my dad's life savings to give sister this $100K to appease her. My dad is giving a firm no, but he's also concerned about my mom who simply can't stand this much turmoil in the family or finger-pointing from my sister. I hate my sister so much for being this entitled and deluded, but I don't know what I should do. She constantly posts on Facebook about how all her friends are buying houses right now, and she can't because of my parents. No effing idea how my parents keep her from buying a house. And everyone believes her sob stories. She even told me that if my parents can't find the money, then it's my responsibility to find her this money. It's so ridiculously insane, I don't know what to do anymore. She knows my mom is weak and suggestible, and I think what she's doing is cruel and selfish. But what can I do? How can I protect myself? Is there any way I can still get through to my sister, or is she just a lost cause by now? Next Facebook post. How is it mom and dad's fault you got kicked out and blacklisted from your behavior? If you put as much effort into your life as you do nonsense drama, maybe you'd actually have something. Talk to your dad. Considering what is going on with your mom, tell him to lock down their financials. Your sister is fully capable of trying to manipulate your mother into giving her the money. Also, suggest strongly that sister no longer be allowed in the home. Your sister is terrible. If she gets this money, she will find something else to gripe about. I started using D when I was 17. I was mostly into M but tried various D. My parents decided to help me, but like most addicts, I struggled and made their lives difficult. There were times I embarrassed them in front of people. I stole from them and from the rest of the extended family. I did a lot of wrong. When I was 23, they decided that they've wasted enough time and money on me, so they cut me loose. It took me until I was 26 to get my act together and became clean. I went back to them when I was clean, when they told me that they just can't take me back and forget about everything that I've done. They were right. I had to try to make things right. So I stayed around but kept my distance from them. I started paying them back the money that I had stolen from them, and I paid them in full with interest within 3 years. That's everything that I stole from my parents and my sisters. I know it doesn't make it right, but it's all that I could do. I kept sending them birthday cards and gifts, New Year's cards, etc., even though I wasn't with them at any of those events. Again, just trying to atone for the wrong I've done to them. Years passed, nothing changed. My sisters married and didn't invite me to their weddings. I still sent them gifts. When my niece and nephew were born, I also sent them gifts. When I married my wife, they didn't come to my wedding, even though I invited them. When my son was born, they didn't come to see him or to his birthdays after that. 2 years ago, my father had cancer. I reached out and asked if he wanted to see me and offered my support. They all declined. It took them until my father was really sick to reach out. He wanted to finally see me. I went to see him in the hospital with my son. He was very sick and was more or less ready to go. He told me then that he regrets keeping me away and wishes that he'd accepted me back sooner. We spent the whole day together. We were full of regrets, but we made our peace in the end. He died a week later. My mother and sister told me not to come to his funeral, that I didn't deserve to be there. It was hurtful since my father and I had made our peace, but I respected their wishes. The funeral is for those who remain, and they had a right to not want me around. I went, but remained in far distance, and only paid my respects when everyone else was gone. That moment was a big deal for me. I stopped trying to have my mother and sister back. I stopped sending them gift cards or anything. I had tried for 10 years, and I decided that it's time to move on. We remained no contact for 2 years until this last weekend. My mother called me and asked if I can visit them alone. I went there, and my mother and sisters were there. We talked a little. They told me that they're willing to put the past behind us and look towards the future. That's all we have is each other. Things like that. The thing is, I got the feeling that they need money and help. They kept mentioning how difficult things are for them, how my sisters are both divorced and single mothers without great careers, and how they struggle to take care of their children. My mother said similar things. They kept mentioning how great I'm doing and how amazing it is that I was able to turn my life around. I totally felt like I was being manipulated. For years, I would have done anything for them to accept me back, and now they were tapping into those feelings. They never explicitly asked for money, but their requests were implicit. They said things like, family should take care of each other. So I need some advice. I'm hurt that the reason they want me back is for money. I loved them and tried for 10 years and received no forgiveness when they didn't need me. But now that they need me, I'm loved and great. What should I do? What you should do is not give them money. Yes, you caused them harm, but you repaid those damages years ago. They refused to allow you to be part of your father's funeral, even after you made peace with him. It would have cost them nothing to permit you to be a part of that. I agree that they want money. It's especially telling that they insisted that you meet them without your wife. They still don't want to be involved in your life. They don't want to meet your wife or child. Don't give them money. Next time you're having a gathering, holiday barbecue this summer, invite your mother, sisters, and their children. My guess is they won't come. They don't want to be your family, just your pensioners. If I'm wrong and they want a real relationship, keep money out of the equation. Don't give them any. So, my husband, 30 male, and I just had our first child a couple of weeks ago. Our families were really happy for us. He and my mom divorced when I was a kid, and I live mostly with my mom, seeing him a few times a year for visits. We've never really been that close, but not on bad terms either. He married another woman. I believe she's 45 years old, maybe 8 years ago. They ended up moving a few hours away, so I don't see them much now except some holidays. He had told me apologetically before the baby was due that he probably wouldn't be able to afford much for her, us, because he'd taken a pay cut at work, and they were struggling with having enough to pay bills each month. At the time, I thought this was weird. His job doesn't seem like the sort where that happens, but I believed him and said I understood and it was fine. Just come and see the baby some point after she's here. I also offered to help him financially if he needed, but he declined. Now, today something happened that made me realize he was lying. I have a friend who lives in their city, and she sent me a screenshot of something on another girl's Facebook page. It was a picture of that girl with a guy in the caption, "The amazing man who's helping me upgrade my chest, LOL," or something like that. My friend was asking if that was my dad, and it was, but he doesn't have an Facebook. I asked what was going on. She said this girl she has on her Facebook had been posting over the past few weeks about getting a boob job and how excited she was. Turns out my father knows her and is paying for it. Oh, and she's also apparently 21 and in college. So, I was pretty grossed out and pissed. He's got enough money to throw on this, but somehow can't afford a small thing for the baby, and looks to be cheating on my stepmom. I showed my husband, and he suggested I call my stepmom and figure out if he lied to me about the pay cut. That way, I'd have more evidence. So I did, and when I mentioned it, she had no idea what I was talking about. His job is fine. She also said he told her he bought gifts for the baby and was mailing them to me in both their names. Obviously, I never got anything. She didn't know why he'd lie to both of us, but apologized and said she would ask him about it. I guess that would have been the time to tell her about the picture, but I just didn't know how. I know it sounds dumb and crappy, and I know she deserves to know if he's cheating. But how do you break something like that to someone? And I feel just kind of stupid, like my evidence is a picture someone posted on Facebook? It could be someone he's friends with joking around or something. I mean, I know there's probably something going on, but I keep second-guessing myself. So anyway, we just ended the call after that, and now I'm struggling with whether I should tell her, and if so, how? Or should I confront him first? I'm also still feeling upset that he doesn't seem to care about me or his granddaughter. He's only called once since she was born. It's not about getting gifts, as much as him not showing any kind of interest. But apparently, that's because he's more interested in buying some college chick a new rack. How do I handle this stupid crap? I would suggest you meet up with your stepmother, if possible, or at the very least, call her and explain what you found. You can't force her to believe you, or divorce your a-hole father, but you can give her the evidence and leave her to deal with it how she wants. Make sure you have saved the photo and any other posts that may implicate your father's relationship with Boob Job Girl, because it's likely he will get them deleted as soon as he realizes what's happened. If your stepmother decides to go through with divorce, proving infidelity will help her. Also, I am sorry he is not the grandpa you hoped he'd be. Sounds like he was not much of a father, and a lousy husband too. His failures are not a reflection of you. You and your hubby and baby are a beautiful new family in a home filled with love. Try to forget this clown and share joy with mom, in-laws, friends. My husband and I have been together for almost 20 years. We were at a low point in our marriage this year and were at the point of divorce. Last month, I discovered he had been involved with a coworker for over a year. He had a close working relationship with her. They shared very similar professional interests. He had great respect for her ability and relied heavily on her support for an important project in their firm. They spent a lot of time together and developed a close friendship that evolved into a romantic one. She has since moved to another office across the country. I never even knew that she existed. He never spoke of this person. He grew more distant over the past year, and I knew our marriage was falling apart. I assumed it was just his midlife crisis and was desperate to save my marriage, but really had no hint that he might be involved with another woman. So, in the past 6 months, we have gradually rebuilt our relationship. In part, I committed myself to being fun to be around, not a nagging bee, but a sexy and supportive person. In turn, he started opening up about a lot of his worries. We are having a great time, going out on fun dates, trying new things. The S is better than ever. The emotional connection is better than it has been since we were newlyweds. I felt like I had a new lease on life and a new invigorated marriage. Then, last week, it all came crashing in. I discovered text messages between him and this woman. He declared his love, told her he loved touching her hair, shared his thoughts about our relationship. I was crushed. I convinced him to tell me everything. In short, he told me that he turned to her when our relationship was bad, that he was depressed, and she helped him see a way out of it. He told me that I should be grateful to her for encouraging him to rekindle our S-life and give our marriage a real shot. He told me he was totally committed to staying married and did not want to leave me for her. He also told me that he loved her and did not want to give up her friendship. He said the relationship has cooled down as ours has sparked back up, but he wanted to continue texting and seeing her occasionally on out-of-town trips. He asked me to accept that she would stay in his life. For some crazy reason, I am not angry at him. I am not angry at her. as he has told me the truth. I am seeing his side of it. He is emotionally more healthy than he was last year. Our marriage is better than it was last year. I think I can handle her staying in his life. Am I fooling myself? I have asked him to tell me everything, and he has been willing. He showed me the texts, the emails, and has answered all my questions with what appears to be, in my experienced eyes, honesty. Am I crazy? Am I delusional? Can this work? Can this be healthy? I could see forgiving him for an affair after 20 years of being together. I could see being okay with an open relationship that was discussed beforehand where all parties are on board. I would absolutely not stand for a person cheating, continuing to cheat while you make extensive efforts to better the relationship. Then, when he gets caught, another huge point that he didn't even come clean on his own, expects you to be grateful and wants to keep her in his life. What the duck? I guess we could just be two different people, but honestly, it sounds like you have rock-bottom self-esteem and are terrified of the concept of divorce. You've lowered your standards so low you had to dig a ditch in the ground. Telling the truth after you've been caught red-handed is neither honorable nor worthy of forgiveness.